Tell us all about it.
Well, what do you want me to tell you? I mean, it's Helix. It's set. The concept is there's this secret medical research facility that's up in the Arctic Circle. It's outside of international law. It's not really maintained by any one particular nation. And what have they been doing up there? And in the opening episode, the Center for Disease Control in Atlanta gets this call that, something is broken out in this lab, and it's infecting people, and we're really scared, and we need some help. And so a team is dispatched to go up there and investigate, and when they get there, they realize there's a lot more going on in this space than even they were told, and there's research going on here that's mysterious, and they're not being told the truth, and they come to realize that what's being studied in the space has enormous potential to help humanity or destroy humanity. So the stakes are really enormous. And the show is basically structured on this idea of every episode is one day at this facility. So there's this pressure cooker environment that just builds and builds and builds over the course of the first season as they struggle to sort of protect themselves in quarantine, and what can we do and what's really going on in this space. Thank you.
Can you tell us about that timeline? I mean, why, is it because it is a disease and it's going to outbreak that you need to constrict it down to one day per episode?
Yeah, it was sort of like, okay, if you're going to do a show about a disease outbreak, it felt wrong that it should just go on for weeks or months at a time like a normal TV show would. The break and the sort of next week being another week in the life felt wrong, because it felt like, well, what was happening in the interim and the tension and trying to recapture it? It felt better to compress everything, because here's an immediate situation. It's happening right now, and that every second kind of counts as they're struggling to keep this thing contained. And so it was just sort of a natural outgrowth of, well, it should be like every day. Let's just make it every episode a day.
When you're researching for something like this, do you find that you get a little more paranoid? Like, are you washing your hands more, or like, shaking hands with people less?
I try not to think about that aspect of it. I saw Contagion, and Contagion was disturbing enough, and yeah, you walk around with a lot of Purell for a while. But yeah, I'm not trying to get too down the rabbit hole on it.
So what do you find most compelling about Helix?
It's the characters and the fundamental story of it. I wasn't interested in reading the script when it first came to me from Sony, because it wasn't really what I was interested in, but they just kept saying it's a good script, we really want you to read it, and I found it a page turner. I just literally kept turning the pages to see what happened next, and by the end of the script I wanted to see the next hour, and that just told me there's a show in here. There was something, just as a storyteller, Cameron just had created a compelling tale that I just wanted to keep watching.
For the cast, are we going to see any familiar faces from any of your other work, like Battlestar Galactica?
Nothing from my particular work, no. Billy Campbell's a recognized face. He's probably the most recognizable actor. And we just cast Hiro Sonata. I'm always mangling his last name, but I think it's Hiro Sonata, who is from Last Samurai, and he's going to play Hataki for us.
So how are we going to see, the realism kind of aspect go into it? Because you did mention Contagion, and as you said, you do walk around with Hero for a while because you're scared that you're going to get that bat disease. But what do you expect the viewers are going to feel from watching this? Will they be carrying Hero with them afterwards?
Well, hopefully, the idea is that we do enough research and we talk to enough doctors and scientists to make it plausible and make it close enough to real technology and research that you can believe what's happening, so that you can really get pulled into the drama along with the characters, and that's really, I think, the goal for anything like this.
How about on the side of like social media side and the fan interaction, and how are the fans going to be drawn in? Is there going to be catch the disease?
Catch the disease every week. Can you catch the disease? We'll mail out envelopes to people, and whoever opens the right one will get the disease.
I think it's a national security.
Yeah, exactly.
But sci-fi is always good about the interactivity and stuff.
Yeah.
So do you know what?
I don't know what the specific plans are, no, but I know there is a whole plan, and they've been talking a lot about social media. It's very different than when we launched Battlestar. When we did Battlestar, none of that was really around. And first season, they asked me to start doing podcasts. I didn't even know what that was. I hadn't even done that. So it was all kind of very new when we were launching that show. But now it's just kind of embedded into what Sci-Fi does week in, week out. So they have a whole team and a whole bunch of plans on how they exploit everything, Twitter to Instagrams, etc.
So we know the show, a lot of it is based on like real science, but you're most popular for stuff like Star Trek and Battlestar Galactica. Are we going to get also like a good amount of science fiction in the show?
Yeah, there's a fair amount, and there's the things that I liked about all those pieces were really the character stories and about the people, and that was what drew me to this too. Was I liked these characters, I thought they were interesting people, and I wanted to see what happened to them when you put put them in this kind of environment.
So, go the future of Helix, because I did hear that it was multi-season. Is it all going to be about trying to cure people from this one disease? Will we see the disease, progress more and more, and people get sick, more sick and more sick, and the population is gone? Like, what future plans will Helix go?
It's hard to answer that because almost any answer I give you tells you what the end of the first season is. So if I tell you, the disease is going to get worse and worse, well, they're not going to cure it. So we do have a plan that the seasons will be very different from one another. I can tell you that. The conceptual idea is that season 2 won't really look anything like season 1 for a variety of reasons, and same into season 3. That's probably all I can tell you, because it really is predicated on what happens at the end of this season before you can even talk about where it goes into the next one. So
I guess we'll ask you next year then.
yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Thanks, guys.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks, everybody.